Hey, what's up everyone? Thanks for stopping by and checking out another one of my videos. So a couple of years ago, I started an Etsy shop and I was selling these wooden flags on there. It's just a way to make a little bit of money to support my woodworking hobby. And the main thing that I used to make these flags was scrap wood. But sometimes scrap wood is not all that easy to come about, and so I would use stair treads from time to time. Stair treads are a great alternative if you are at the hardware store and can't find the material that you're looking for. They come in usually 4-foot lengths and they are 1 inch thick. And so I got 2 stair treads and they're like 11 or 12 bucks a piece, and was able to cut them down into 3/4 inch strips, and was able to make 4 of these wooden flags out of those. And these things sell great on Etsy or Facebook Marketplace or wherever. And I haven't been making any flags for a while, but I just wanted to get back to my roots a little bit for no good reason at all. They're really forgiving, they're really easy to make, and a lot of fun to do as well. And so I've got this little jig that I use to hold everything up to get it all scorched. I like to do an initial burning to bring out the grain, and then I go through and identify which pieces I want to be red and which ones I want to be white, and I find the knots and what I want to show and not show. And then for the stars, I like to use a little chisel. I measure in 9 inches because these are 13 inches high and 22 inches wide, and so the stripes is going to be 9 inches by 7 inches, and I use a little chisel to delineate that line to make the staining a lot easier, which you can see me doing here. These sizes are also really nice to make because 13 inches high is just 13 stripes, each stripe being 13 inches. So I go through with this water-based Minwax stain. Again, you can pick this up at the big box store, and go through and just put 1 coat on all the pieces that I need to. I like to put a little bit down into the edge that's going to be glued and nailed together, and you can kind of see how I've done that here. And so I did that for all 4 flags, and then used this jig again to get everything nailed up. I'm using just a little bit of Titebond 2 and then 18 gauge brad nails. These are 1.5 inches thick, so they'll go through the first one and a 1/2 inch into the second one. And don't anticipate too much stress on these over time. So don't want to do a ton of glue where it's going to squeeze out the front and make a huge mess. And so I put a little bit of glue kind of along the back edge, and then have found that holds these together pretty well, and using about 4 or 5 brads per strip. This jig is really handy in keeping things at 90 degrees. You don't have to make a jig like this if you want to make a flag like this, but it's made it easy for me. Like I said earlier, these are really forgiving, so a couple of those nails pop out the front, and what's nice about these flags is that they're rustic, and so you can just pull those out. You can see them make a huge gouge in the red, but that's no problem. Sand it a little bit, restain it, and it'll look great. Like I said, super forgiving, a really great project to get into, or to do if you're just getting into woodworking. After they are glued and nailed up, I like to put them in some clamps while the glue fully cures. I've got this little tabletop here. It's not really a jig, but it just has a edge on the end that I can butt the flag up against and kind of hold it on the flat surface. And so once these are all glued up, I let them sit for 3 or 4 hours, or overnight if I need to. I put a little wax paper under there so if any glue does squeeze out the front, it doesn't stick to the work surface. All right, next I square these up on the table saw. You can see I use the miter gauge for the first edge. I kind of put out in front. That's a little trick to get a nice square edge. And then once that's done, I use the rip fence. And again, these are 22 inches wide. For one of these flags, I'm going to give it a really kind of rustic, tattered look. So I'm going through with a marker here to carve out exactly where it looks like it's been kind of tattered in the wind. And I'm going to use quite a bit of fire on this, as you'll see here in a little bit. So I just use the jigsaw to cut out that shape. I've seen flags like this that other makers have done, and I think they look really sharp, and I've never done one myself. And so I just go through and really beat it up quite a bit with the jigsaw, taking a bunch of chunks out throughout. And with most of that done, I like to move on to sanding next. And so put down a little pad of carpet pad and then just use my sander. I'm just using like a 150 or 200 grit. I'm not trying to take off too much of the stain, but I am going through and smoothing out a lot of the sharp edges, giving it a little bit more of a finished look. And so for the ones that aren't tattered, I just put a real quick round over or chamfer, not even that really. I just kind of knock down the sharpness of that edge, and then I come back with the stain, and I like to do the sides, both the end grain there that I'm doing right now, and then hit any parts of the edges on the longer part of the flag that I took off with the sander. All right, so here I am. Like I said earlier, I was gonna really use quite a bit of fire on the tattered flag, basically lit it on fire, as you can see here, and I did this with my garage door open and a fire extinguisher nearby just in case, and went through and really gave quite a bit of character to this piece using the torch. For the non-tattered flags, I like to go through and just kind of touch up any parts that look a little fresh with the flame like I'm doing here, and then moving on to the decals. So if you watched my last video, I talked a lot about should I get a Cricut or not. I made a stocking hanger with some stencil work on it and spent quite a bit of time doing that by hand. So as you can see here, I did get a Cricut. Really happy with it. I haven't done anything too intense with it yet, really just vinyls, and you can see here I'm using them as templates. So here's a couple of the flags that I designed. This one has all 50 stars rearranged into kind of a cross formation, and then God Bless America there on the bottom right, which I think looks really cool. And then taped everything off using that vinyl as a stencil, and then just a little bit of spray paint to go in and fill in the logo and the writing on the flags. And this permanent vinyl works really great as a stencil. I've never used it before, so this is a little bit of an experiment for me, but I was really happy with the way that it turned out. It's relatively cheap. I'll put a link in the comments below to the vinyl that I used here if you're interested in doing work like this and have a Cricut. And I guess, even if you didn't have a Cricut or a vinyl cutter, you could still use this. You just have to cut it out by hand, which I guess wouldn't be that big of a deal. Okay, so here we are at the end, just putting a couple of coats of Total Boat Halcyon Clear over it to really give them a nice high gloss finish, and I think it gives that these flags a really sharp finish. And so, like I said, these will go up on my Etsy shop. If you're interested, I'll put links below. I did make 4 flags, as you saw. I like to keep 2 of them blank, because a lot of times people reach out and say, oh, can you put this on there or that on there? They'll want to customize it in a certain way. And so it's nice to kind of batch these out at any given time. These will sell anywhere from $50 to over $100, depending on how much detail you put into it. And so for basically $25 in material with those 2 stair treads, that's a pretty good return to be able to get 4 flags out of these. And so hope this video was helpful for you all. If you're a woodworker or a hobbyist, or looking to start an Etsy shop or sell flags like this, it's a great way to get started, a huge part of my woodworking journey, and hope that this video was helpful for you all. Please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I will share more videos like this. So thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.